Hey, hey. That is the informal way of saying hello in Swedish. I think various Scandinavian countries do that as well. If you haven't guessed it, well, if you're watching my channel, I'm the Obscurist Tourist, and guess what? I already gave it away. I am here in Sweden. I arrived here in Malmö yesterday afternoon, late yesterday, from Copenhagen, and the traveling doesn't stop. Today I am headed north, about almost 5 hours north, to a small town called Stenungsund. I think that's the pronunciation. I would just say it, Stenungsund. My Swedish pronunciation is terrible considering how much time I have spent in this country over the years. I am going to see my really good friends, a band called The Ark. I met them way back in the early 2000s, and as happenstance would have it, they happen to be one of the most famous bands in all of Sweden now. Fancy that. Anyway, I haven't seen these guys in about, it's going to be 11 years. I was supposed to see them a couple of years ago. Pandemic happened, but here I am. First stop, Stenungsund, on their reunion tour, and I'm also going to show you around Sweden, some small towns that, you know, if you come to Sweden, you're going to Stockholm for the most part, maybe Malmö, but you're definitely probably not going to see some of the places I'm going to show you. So let's go. Without further ado, let's show you around Sweden. As you can see behind me, I have finally made it 6 hours later from Malmö to Stenungsund. And this is the first of 4 shows that I will see The Ark perform while I am here in Sweden. And I think they are playing tonight at a yacht club. Woo-woo! Pretty highbrow for any band. So I'm pretty excited about this. It is probably about a half an hour walk, so I better get going. Losing daylight here. Anyway, Stenungsund. And this might be Stenungsund in a nutshell. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. It's a little bit bigger than that one house. There's a little bit here, not much. Population is around just under 10,000. So it's a city, but it's a small city. So I was just trying to figure out how the heck to cross this bridge, because the yacht club is actually on a little inlet, a little island or something on the other side of the mainland here, where I got the bus. And then I found this little underpass here. And check this out. This is absolutely insanely beautiful. Look at all these Swedish suntanners just hanging out. So as weird as it sounds, a lot of my friends, a lot of my new friends especially, who I've met within the past 10 years, and even a lot of you who are watching my channel, you don't know my life as a rock journalist. And yes, believe it or not, I once wrote a book about a band here in Sweden called The Ark, who I've mentioned several times already, and which is the main reason why I'm here. I wrote a book about them, a biography, about 12 years ago, at just when they were they were already famous in Sweden, but they were really starting to explode all across Europe because they appeared in the mighty Eurovision. Took a little time gathering my thoughts. I thought I had a lot of time. And then one day the singer messaged me out of the blue and he said, "Hey, maybe it's time we finish the book," because he kept delaying giving me certain details. I don't think he thought that the story was over yet. And then one day he messaged me and he said, "Hey, listen, we are calling it quits. And I think it's time that I told you the story, the final version of the story of the Ark." And that was it. I had about, I think I had about 4 months to get it all together and get it out before they did their final tour. I'm sure that there are many more things that I'll think of as I continue on this little Swedish sojourn, because I haven't really thought about it. Honestly, it's like another life before this one that I've had. And not many people were privy to it because it was just me over here in Europe and my European friends. And when I moved back to Toronto, just my life reverted back to the usual. So that's a crazy thing. I kind of forgot about it all. And now that I'm here, it's like all coming back to me, and it's realized what great friends I have here and how much I really missed it. So it's going to be pretty awesome to go through memory lane with myself. And perhaps not memory lane with you, but divulge a little info, a little historical info on me and this little band called The Ark, who, if you live in America or Canada or North America in general, heck, you have never even heard of them, which is crazy. And I'll show you some of the crazy things that is happening across the pond that you wouldn't even know about. So I'll continue my walk here. You can see a little ray of sun shining on right down to the Stenungsund Yacht Club. Just gotta cross this bridge. I'm always crossing bridges. And there it is. I've gotten a little closer to the yacht club. And unsurprisingly, there are some yachts parked at the yacht club. Who knew? I thought it was just for rich people who said they had yachts. Who knew they actually had yachts? I'm so excited. I'm usually asked 3 questions when people find out I've written a book about the Ark. 1, who the hell is the Ark? 2, how did a Canadian guy like me ever become friends with the Ark? And 3, why did I write a book about the Ark? All very good questions, and to answer them, I'll go back to the beginning. For my American and Canadian friends, the Ark is a band from Sweden. They formed in the mid-1990s and within a few years were well on their way to becoming big stars at home. Their debut album, We Are the Ark, went platinum in Sweden, and the band would go on to release 4 more albums before going on hiatus in 2011. The Ark initially planned to do a reunion tour in 2020, but was ultimately postponed thanks to COVID. And that's what brings me back to Sweden this time around, my old stomping grounds, to meet up with my friends in the Ark on their long overdue reunion tour. Believe it or not, it's been 10 years since I last saw these guys. Today, they are even bigger than when I last hung out with them, and they've become one of Sweden's most beloved bands. My story with the Ark, however, does not even begin in Sweden. It actually starts in Milan, Italy in 2002. You see, I was a musician back home in Toronto, but by the early aughts, I had grown disillusioned with music and my life in Canada as a whole. And so, one day, I bought a one-way plane ticket to Rome. I soon ended up in Milan, however, and it was upon arrival that I saw a poster on a wall outside the train station promoting the Ark's upcoming gig. I remember thinking how cool they looked. Later that night, as fate would have it, the video for Let Your Body Decide began to play on a small television in the kitchen of my hostel. It was the very first piece of music I'd ever heard by the band, and I was mesmerized. Over the next couple of weeks, I'd met a girl named Eliza. That's her there. She turned out to be an Ark fan, and I always remember us riding the tram all around Milan, sharing the headphones while listening to We Are the Ark front to back. That album became a soundtrack to my new life, and it must have been fate, because out of all of the countries in Europe that I could have possibly ended up in, Italy just happened to be the only place outside of Sweden where the Ark were actually popular. That February, Eliza and I went to see the Ark in a club in Milan, and it was there that I first met Mikael Jeppsson, the band's guitarist. He invited me to a party, which is basically the best first impression you can ever make. Funnily enough, Jeppsson wasn't the first member of the Ark I'd met, though I didn't know it at the time, nor when I was actually writing the book. In fact, I realized just a few years ago that I met Leary in 1999 in Toronto when he was filling in on bass for the Cardigans during their world tour. Eventually, I moved back to Toronto and sort of forgot about the Ark in my Euro days. But years later, in 2005, I got word the Ark were playing a show in New York City. You can read all about that first US show in my book, so I'll spare you the details here. But I made the 11-hour drive from Toronto to meet up with the guys and repeated that trip several times over the next 2 years. In some ways, I think they were as interested in having a fan from Canada as much as I was of becoming acquainted with a band from Sweden. Over time, and over many drinks, laughs, and conversations, my fandom and our relationship morphed into friendship. It was amazing to be a part of it all while they toiled away in America. I'd missed those early years in Sweden, so it was really fun to watch the rebirth of a band in another land. The Ark really did seem poised to become the next big thing in America.
We are from the band The Ark, and we come from Sweden.
My name is Ola Salo, and this is Martin Axén.
Yeah, we are 5 together.
And after doing a couple of initial gigs, they were finally ready for a massive US tour. But the dream of breaking America quickly ended on a stage in Washington, D.C. in 2006, the very first show of that massive tour.
It's American people who found a new love in life.
We love you, Sweden!
The Swedish rock band called The Ark. That came to Washington, D.C. this glorious day to show you that there is still rock in the soil of Småland, Sweden. Yeah. This song well, you never know in this country where they're heading, right? Gotta make sure it's on the right way, yeah. To the White House. Well, anyway.
Ola's words about the White House in planes couldn't have come at a worse time and at a worse place. Despite 9/11 having occurred 5 years earlier, a foreigner making light of the tragedy on American soil was a giant misstep. And after flying back to Sweden, the Ark put their US tour on hold. Soon, the band began to receive threats for what happened in America's capital, and eventually the tour was scrapped altogether. The band would play a show in New York months later, but that would be their last visit to America. With that, our American adventure together was over. I always felt terrible about how things ended for them, because there is nothing worse in life than the question of what if. But I've always believed this sad moment was a blessing in disguise. And as I watched the Swedish media storm about the US affair from afar, I got the idea to write a book about the band. The Swedish press and fans had one idea about the guys from over the years, but no one really seemed to know them. I had this unprecedented access to this massive band that no one else had. I never had the preconceptions the Swedish press or the fans formed over the years. After all, I was just a naive Canadian. I felt compelled to tell the story of the Ark from their perspective, and it was perfect because I had questions no one else had bothered to ask. Simple questions about the beginning, their thoughts and dreams, and questions about them as people. I wanted to humanize them. Our rock stars become otherworldly, but to me, the Ark guys have always been dudes that I just wanted to have a drink and have a laugh with. Because I was Canadian, I feel like the guys never really found me to be a threat coming to them with ulterior motives. The band trusted me, and I really felt like I had seen a side of them that no one else had ever seen. To put it in Hollywood terms, I was basically the dude in Almost Famous, but much older. I wrote singer Ola Salo about my idea to write a book in 2007, and he responded with this. We've had a couple suggestions like this, and I always thought, give it another 2 or 3 years, then we'll have more of a story to tell. But then, on the other hand, I could go on saying that forever. When is the right time to tell a story that goes on all the time? To me, he had agreed, and I had a title for the book, No End. Shortly after this, my girlfriend at the time in Toronto had decided she was moving back to Prague in Czech Republic because that's where she was born and that's where she wanted to go to school. She asked me if I was coming along, and I immediately said yes. After all, I was always up for an adventure, and it also solved the logistical problems of trying to write a book about a band that lived on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. When I moved there, I realized Martin Axon, the Ark's guitarist, often visited Prague, and it was in various smoky bars over the next year that our friendship blossomed. Martin asked me one day if I'd like to join the band aboard their tour bus for a summer festival tour. I immediately said yes. That fall, I joined the band on their bus again on a European tour, and it was during these and 2 subsequent tours that I did my interviews. Eventually, I moved back to Toronto to finish the book, and in 2011 it was released to coincide with the Ark's farewell tour. I remember the Swedish press misinterpreting the book and writing it off as a piece of fan fiction. But if you read the book beyond the introduction, you'd know it was much more than that. The introduction was meant to be dramatic and put you, the reader, into the moment and mind of an Ark fanatic. But some people didn't get it, especially the press. Truth be told, I wanted Ola Salo to write the introduction to the book, but when I'd finally asked him, he'd just gotten too busy to do it. The fact that some people didn't understand my intentions bothered me at the time, but it also seemed a bit ironic to write a book to help people understand while making myself misunderstood in the process. And so, here we are, a decade later. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
My name is Ola Salo.
And what do you do?
I am a traveling man. I play my harmonica along the rails.
Who are you?
I don't know.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jeppson.
What do you do?
I live on the 2nd floor. I live upstairs from you. If you hear something late at night. Okay. My name is Mikael Jeppson. Do you have any more questions?
What do you do? What do you do in the band?
In the band, I'm a guitarist.
So next stop is Ystad in Sweden. I have been traveling for about 9 hours today. It's crazy. I am so tired. You can probably see it in my eyes. This was actually supposed to be a pretty simple ride. Just 3.5, 4 hours to Ystad from central Sweden, and here I am. I'm still not at my destination. Crazy. I always forget that the Swedish train system is not so reliable. So I hope hope they can figure it out pretty soon, so I can get to where I need to go. Well, I have finally made it. I am here in Ystad after a 10-hour day of traveling. I have finally made it here, but no thanks to the Swedish trains, because the Swedish trains kicked me off back in Lund, and I had to have a friend come pick me up, and she drove me over here. And you know what's hilarious is this isn't even the town of Ystad. This is like an old farmhouse about 20 minutes outside of the small town, and right behind me a crowd has amassed ready to see yet another Ark performance. So happy to report I am here. So let's go on in. Who is this man? Introduce yourself. Who are you?
My name is Lasse.
Lasse?
Lasse, the bass player.
The bass player.
Yeah.
Between us, you're the sexiest man in the Ark. Lasse. Oh my goodness. Who? Introduce yourself.
Me? I'm Jens.
What do you do?
I do play the keyboard.
Little.
And I sing a little bit.
guess I don't know.
It's a bit much. Are these wigs? Well, I am finally back in Malmö. It has been an absolute crazy whirlwind 4 days. The last 4 days, that is. Just absolutely, I'm so tired, so stressed out. and so hot. It seems like the heat is following me everywhere I travel this summer, but I arrived in Copenhagen on Wednesday, went to Malmö on Thursday, went to Stenungsund on Friday, came back to Malmö on Saturday, went to Ystad on Saturday night, and then came back to Malmö, and now I'm here for a few days, so I'm gonna relax, get some much needed sleep. I'm gonna let you in on a little bit of a secret, and that is the Sweden trains really suck. They are constantly either breaking down or delayed, and I've had it with Swedish trains. So I am finally in Stockholm. It took me a couple days to get here because train tickets were sold out the previous 2 days. And yesterday I finally got myself a train ticket, and here I am 4.5 hours later from Malmö, Stockholm, Sweden, into this nice, cute hotel. Next stop is Örebro, about 2.5 hours west of Stockholm. I have finally arrived in Örebro. It was about, actually it was a pretty painless train ride over from Stockholm, about 2.5 hours, and no problems at all. So is the Swedish train system getting better? I don't know. But anyway, I am here in Örebro, and tonight is going to be a very special performance by The Ark, who are playing with Milan, the hometown boys here in the city. And what I've been told, it's going to be a much bigger show in terms of stage and performance, so I'm pretty excited about this. For now, I have to check into my hotel, and I'll check in with you later. Oh, look who it is. Who are you?
I'm Sylvester. I played the drums in The Ark.
Really?
No joke. No joke.
A man that's always sitting down should
I know.
never be joked about.
No.
So, who are you?
I'm Martin Axén.
And what do you do?
Normally I'm working with restaurants and bars in Malmö, but this summer and many years ago I was working with The Ark as a guitar player. So that's kind of my life. Love
It's a good life.
Yeah, I love it.
Wow, what an absolutely amazing night. I'm actually out of words to describe what happened last night. Ola Salo invited me on stage to help him sing Calleth You, Cometh I.
Jag tror vi behöver lite hjälp här. We need some help. I need to get in my friend from Canada, Christian Patrick, who wrote the book about the Ark. Know him? Christian Patrick, help us sing this song. Are you ready? Okej, visa nu den här kanadensaren. Du vill sjunga. Vi säger, ta er riktigt nu då! I've been waiting for this so long.
It was absolutely amazing. He came up to me right before they were to take the stage, and he asked me if I'd go on there and help him sing it, and of course, I had to say yes. It's interesting because I haven't sung or performed in front of anyone in about 3 years, since before the pandemic, and here I am, my first performance in all that time in front of over 8,000 people in Sweden, no less. Just an absolutely amazing experience. And listen, these guys don't have to do these things for me. They're so accommodating and absolutely just so inviting and inclusive, and it's like why I love them over everything else. Just such great guys. And next stop is, where are we going? Växjö, hometown show for the Ark. So last night's show, which was massive, is going to probably about double or triple in size tonight, and I am so excited. Next stop, and my second last destination here in Sweden, is Växjö, Sweden. Although it's spelt in English as Vaxjo, so my pronunciation, my Swedish friends for years have just been making fun of the way I pronounce that city name. So let's just go with Vaxjo. Vaxjo we come.
Hej Anna.
Kommer det
Det är Martin från The Ark här ju. Jag träffade Robin på stan och så tänkte jag att jag måste ringa dig ju. Inte ballar. Något ballar. Hej! Okej.
Let me use it, whoa.
Så.
Let your body decide where you want to go. I said hi, hello,
Well, that is it for me here in Sweden. I am headed back to Toronto tomorrow morning. I have one more train trip back to Malmö and then back to Copenhagen, where it all began. And I am actually pretty excited to get back to Toronto. It's actually a bittersweet feeling, you know, like I'm very sad to say goodbye to all my really wonderful friends here, but I hope you enjoyed my trip down memory lane here, an obscure trip, an odd trip, and a trip that not even some of my closest friends really comprehend or understand. So it's been, it's been a roller coaster of emotions here, but I'm also really happy to get home and rest. For now, it is the Obscurist Tourist saying so long. Take care of yourselves, stay beautiful, always stay hungry, and until our next adventure. See you later.